As far as acting is concerned, and if you ask the people whose egos I've ruffled, playing villains is kind of my wheelhouse. And I highly recommend it.
My name is Angela Nibley, and I come from a family with history in the Mormon Church. When I was 16 years old, the cognitive dissonance between what I was being taught and what was expected of me was more than I could handle. So, I decided to leave the church. It didn't go well, but I learned how to heal, and that's when life became magical.
Playing villains as an actor is one of my favorite things to do, and playing villains is one of the most therapeutic things I've ever experienced. Aside from being fun, doing the character work gives you real insight into what makes people tick. And owning your dark impulses in a safe environment is a magical kind of inner alchemy that frees you from the shame of having those natural and human internal reactions. We all have light and dark impulses in us. This is a universal function of the human experience. Attempting to annex or divorce ourselves from these qualities we find unsavory doesn't make them disappear. Rather, it shames and represses them and makes us function from a lack of awareness of our true selves. Just like Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Shadow work lets us own and take responsibility for the dark feelings that are inherently part of being human, and express them in ways that do not cause harm to ourselves or others. Quite the contrary, it can be a lot of cathartic fun. If you have children in your world, try this with them. Ask them to be the wicked witch or evil villain in your role play. What do they do? What do they say? How does it make them feel afterwards?
I'm Miss Marmalade.
Does that diminish the purity of their souls? Nope, it does not. It brings awareness and catharsis and can be a powerful addition to your trauma healing protocols. By playing make-believe, we lower the walls on the program judgments we've internalized and let our real thoughts bubble up to the surface for closer examination. And some grown-ups in their adult playtime have figured this out too. I'll leave the rest to your imagination. But the common threads in all of these safe containment devices is consent and boundaries, whether you're talking about theater, child's play, or with some.
While I have your attention, I'd like to thank you for watching. And if you'd like to see more content like this, remember to like and subscribe.
Being a real-world villain is a more meta construct, as it involves other people's perceptions of you. To that, the litmus test is this. Are you causing harm? If so, accountability is in order. Or is your villain status perception a result of other people's projections? This requires one to honestly examine oneself to determine. The concept of being a villain boils down to a game of power. Either you're causing harm by violating others, or people who want to control you are casting you in a villainous light to affect how others perceive you, or how you perceive yourself. Because this is about powerless people trying to usurp power unscrupulously, it's up to you to determine if you are in your powerlessness by trying to steal another's, or if someone is threatened by yours, and how you're going to handle that. If you are harming others, that drive comes from a state of internal powerlessness. You won't ultimately regain true inner power by looking outward, trying to control other people. It will eventually backfire and collapse on you. Truly powerful people do not do this, because it's desperate. If you're being cast as a villain because you won't relinquish your personal power to bullies, the best move you can make is to double down and embrace it. They wouldn't try to tear you down if you didn't intimidate them. Show them why their intimidation is correctly founded. In their fear, they chose to play power games, so let them find out. Embracing your villain, integrating your shadow, is magnetic power. And with all the press they've given you, you'll shine that much more intensely. You turn the tables, which makes their misdeeds transparent, and they will see that they made their worst fears their own, self-fulfilling prophecies. Being powerful, being in your power, is not about controlling others or what they think. It's about not caring or allowing it to shift your own self-definitions. Let them think or say what they want. It only adds to your mystique, and it's really none of your business anyway. Focus on you and your bag. Be so good at doing you that the right people can't miss you. The thing is, whether you people please the people who are liking you hostage, or whether you do not, those individuals have already cast you as their villain, which often has more to do with projection and willful misunderstanding if they aren't willing to have an honest conversation about what you did to upset them in the first place, because then they'd have to own that they usually don't have a sound and defensible reason. In these cases, that's an egoic projection they are wrestling with. So if they're upset at anything you do, besides crawl under a rock and die, and even then they'd probably have notes, then they are not looking for resolution. They do not want harmony with you. Why is that? Because they have created an imaginary version of you, whom they hold imaginary power over. And being honest breaks that delusion. Now, you can't change how they think or feel, because this is about their relationship with themselves, not you. But you don't have to consent to their abusive projections. Remember, the people who would smear you are literally putting their time and energy into spreading the word about you instead of focusing on their own growth. They don't do that to people who don't threaten them. Let them put their unpaid labor into being your fan club. It's motivated out of a fear you'll shine, and because that's their root motivation, what they're unconsciously focused on, it's what they're helping to manifest. If you have caused harm, and we all have, then accountability is in order. But what is causing harm? If someone is feeling envious towards another for being true to who they are, there's a natural tendency for the one feeling the envy to feel like they've been wronged. We've all felt that, but that is not accurate. Those are their unhealed wounds, reacting to internal feelings of lack. The purpose of that is to wake them up to their own erroneous self-definitions. We are all worthy. And when someone has chosen to accept programming that tells them that they are not, it is not your job to make yourself smaller to appease that fallacy. Quite the contrary, you do them a much greater service by embodying your worthiness and giving them permission to change their abusive definitions about themselves. However, if you are taking advantage of people's energetic or physical resources through your actions, that is causing harm, and that requires accountability, amends, and repatterning of those behaviors. That is part of the human experience, and by setting the example for this, we lessen the collective shame of making mistakes, which means more people will feel the freedom to follow suit. Does owning your humanity make you bad and discardable? Quite the contrary. It is in taking responsibility for the power that we all have to be harmful, where we find our compassion. So, if they've decided you're going to be their villain, no matter what you do besides, crawl under a rock and die, then I hope you make it look good. And I hope you have a blast doing it. Darling.
Okay, we're at places for the
No,
Golden Goose outro.
I've got this.
All right, slate it.
And remember, we take care of the goose so we can cook it for Christmas.
No, try again.
We take care of the goose so we can trap it and steal its golden eggs.
Nope, we don't do that here. Try it again.
We take care of the goose so we can cut it open and eat its ovum and become the golden goose myself.
But that's not how any of this works.
I don't have time for this!